5 tips to make career mode more fun and enjoyable for you guys. The first tip I'm gonna get straight into, but number 5 will be the most useful in my opinion at least. The first tip is kind of a cop out, but it's a very useful tip. I'm so sure you guys will love the game if you go check out my other video. I know it seems like a promotion for that video, but it's actually very useful, and the tips in that video is how to make the game more realistic. And the first tip is to use a realistic career mode. I'm gonna go over how to do that uh, later in the video, but if you want a more in-depth realistic settings on this screen right here, go check out that video. It's titled How to Make FC25 Career Mode Realistic from a few weeks ago. You should see it in the top right corner. If not, just go on the channel and you'll find it 2 videos behind this one, I think. So that's tip number 1. Let's get into the real tips. Tip number 2. Okay, so this is the real tip number 1, but it's actually tip number 2. Pick a team that's maybe like lesser known or in a lower league, or at least worse in the league you're starting. This makes career mode so much more enjoyable than just going to the Premier League and picking Manchester City. They have too much money. Same with Liverpool, a lot of money, already a good team. If you like, yeah, that's not gonna be enjoyable. Maybe for a season, but after that you're just gonna win everything, and it's not gonna be as fun. Instead, try to take over a less known team, maybe like not less known, but a team that's maybe struggling in the Premier League or the Championship even. Go to different leagues, explore everything, and it'll just make for more fun career mode team where you build more connection with your squad. You can scout youth academy talents, maybe from England, depending on what type of club you are, and just aim to promote or improve your team if you're already in the first division. So that's tip number 2. Pick a better team just to make the game more enjoyable. Stop picking the top teams. No one enjoys it if you're really honest with yourself. Tip number 3. Here we go. Tip number 3. Once you pick your team and the game updates its system, you can either play as a real manager or create a new manager. This doesn't really matter. So for this series, I'm just going to pick this guy. But this might matter to a couple of you. You can customize your manager as you know, but that's not the tip. You can just pick some of these settings, it doesn't matter. Once the game loads in, you can decide, are you going to be a tactical genius like Pep Guardiola, or maybe a motivator like Jurgen Klopp or even Ruben Amorim at the moment for United, and set yourself tactics to make the game more enjoyable, and you can actually role play as a manager or club owner, and that will make the game more enjoyable. Oops. No spoilers for you guys there. Actually, you already saw that's not a spoiler because that's my personal career mode. And yeah, I chose Leeds for this experiment, and you can go here. Tactical preset. I would not recommend using this. You can do it, but I think it's just a bit basic. I think you should go over here to the team management and create your own tactics. Do edit tactic and put it to custom, and then you can move this around and play the football you want to play and role play as your own manager or even a club owner if you want to buy young players only, be a selling club like Dortmund, buy young players and sell them on later, find your own formation. This will make game more enjoyable depending on what your focus is. Tip number 3, role play as a manager or club owner to make the game better. Tip number 4. This tip is probably my favorite one. Maybe it's not the best one, but it's my favorite. Create your own dynamic storylines to add drama to your career mode by making decisions based on stories you either create on your head or something that's going on in real life. Maybe a star player demands a transfer. Should you sell them just to generate some money or keep them unhappy at the club because they're good? For example, if this team, Daniel James, let's just use him as an example, if he was threatening to leave the club because he was unhappy, would you sell them because he wants it, or would you keep them and downgrade the squad morale and keep them unhappy? That's just an example. Maybe your captain retires. Do you replace them immediately, or do you trust a youngster to fill that role? Who's the captain? Strike. If he was older, a lot older, he's actually only 25, but if he was like 37 and retires, would you replace them with money, or would you use a youth academy player? I'm not quite sure. Maybe or another storyline could be that the press is focused on you, and you're playing some lineups that aren't really popular with the press and the fans. Maybe you could make up that you're threatening to lose your job. Fans are plotting to get you sacked. I think that's a cool storyline. And the tip is just to create your own dynamic storylines. Let's get on to the last tip, or second to last actually. The last real tip and the best tip is to set yourself a custom challenge. This will make career mode a lot more fun. Maybe a youth only challenge where you only use players from your youth academy. And an extra challenge for this, if you want an extra tip personally from me, don't use these players that are automatically given to you from the start. Use the scouting network because it's so good this year. You can scout so many different nations. Just take, why am I hiring a scout? I'll just do it. Hire a scout and look how many nations there are all across the world. Use them, don't just use the ones handed to you. And if you're doing a youth academy only challenge, start in the lower leagues or relegate a big club. 'Cause starting in the big leagues with a youth academy only team, you're only going to get relegated. Another challenge you can do if you set yourself a custom challenge to keep things fresh in this game instead of just repeating the same save but with different players is a one nation challenge. Maybe if you're starting in a patriotic country, like in the MLS or actually just England, build a squad entirely from one country and that nation. Could be a fun challenge if you're up for it. And another one, if you just want to be a journeyman manager, don't want to be stuck to one theme, switch clubs every 2, 3 seasons, maybe building and moving on like a true journeyman manager to build your glory. Maybe a Jose Mourinho type of save. How many clubs has he been to? You know, like Thomas Tuchel maybe. And the last transfer, which is pretty obvious, but realistic transfers, avoid overpowered signings and only target realistic players for your team level. Maybe you guys can feel free to tweak these tips based on your own preferences or comment down below your own tips so others can learn from you. And comment as well what team or league you're thinking of starting with. And the last bonus tip, again, check out the other video because it's so useful and subscribe to the channel and like this video for more enjoyable FC25 content coming your way and more. If you have any more questions, again, comment them down below or DM me on Twitter. GarnaFTBL is the handle. See you guys next time. Goodbye.